Hi, it's John here from GPS Training. Welcome to the latest walk and talk. Now on this walk and talk, what GPS is going to guide us over the 10-mile walk? It is the Garmin Montana 700i. Exactly the same as the Garmin Montana 700, but this time we've got two-way satellite communication with an SOS button on the side, and we can send and receive messages via the satellites. Fingers crossed we don't need to do that this evening, but it is just coming up to 5 o'clock in the evening. We have a 10-mile walk ahead of ourselves. So what do we do at this point? We go online and plan our walk on the free GPS training route planning software. This enables us to access ordnance survey maps free of charge. So I'm just going to find our website, which is GPS training. So all you need to do is go to Google and then type in Greek GPS training, and it will take you to Google. Again, top listing there is GPS training, and that takes you directly to our website. When you're on the GPS training website, you can full page. We just go to OS Planner on the top. That will take you to the OS route planning software. You can also link to it directly from the bottom of the home page. We've made life a little bit easier by putting a link on that top menu bar. And here is your OS, which is Ordnance Survey free route planning software. If it's the first time you've used it, there's some training videos down below, general overview, planning a route, and then how you get these routes. So don't worry, what you're going to see in this video, there's step-by-step video instructions below the route planning software. But here we are with the free route planning software. Now I know I'm already at the start of the day's walk in the map, but I'll just go through the principles. If we're starting from Rothbury as we are here, we just search for Rothbury and it brings up that search results, and then that centers the map on our starting point. Again, we've got 1 to 25,000 map there. As you zoom out, it goes to the 1 to 50,000 ordnance survey map. So again, I'm just going to zoom in and find the starting point, which is just here. And then all you do is you just literally click on the map every time there's a major corner, and it starts creating the route ready for us to follow with our outdoor GPS units. Brings us back down to the village. As you can see, it's 10.3 miles, 16.6 kilometers, 4 hours 19 minutes. You'll see to rename it, so I'm just going to call it Montana. Spell it might help. Montana 700i Simonside. There's all my waypoints. You need to make sure it's under 250 waypoints. There's 122 waypoints in this, and then just download the GPX files, and it's download here Montana 700. Again, if you use a Windows computer, you just look in Windows Explorer at this point, or I'm just looking in Finder because I'm on the Mac. And there's my route I've just created. I right click, I'm just going to copy this, copy my Montana 700i, and here's my GPS device. I can just double click on this, brings up my GPS device in my Garmin folder. I just double click, look for my GPX folder, and I'm literally going to just right click, and I'm just going to paste my item within there, and there's my GPX file on my Garmin outdoor GPS unit. Before you go, just check that it's on there, and then you can get no problems at the start of the walk. Welcome back. I've reset the trip and track data on my Garmin GPS unit. I've calibrated the compass, so the only thing I need to do is now load that route, and we're all ready to go. On the Montana 700, we just press the magnifying glass where to. We select routes, which is here. Because the GPS knows where we are, it puts the nearest routes at the top, which is the Montana 700 Simonside, which we've planned on the computer. Just take a few seconds just to load up. It just take a little while, this unit, just load it up. It overlays it on the map. There it is, 10.3 miles, and we literally just press the go button. And then, as you've been on walk and talks in the past, we'll get an arrow in the top. And what do? As with all walk and talks, we just follow that arrow. So the only problem with starting a walk down the valley bottom, it's always going to be up, isn't it? Whichever way we're going to go is up the hill. So what we do is we're going up here. So this is what's called Three Fields. Then we're going to go up on what's called Addicombe Hill, which is up here, all the way along this high ground, drop down to Thropton. On the top of the Simonside Hills, which you can see in the distance, skirt back round, drop back down, follow St Ozza's Way a little bit, and then we'll get back into the village. So it's really nice, 10-mile walk, a couple of big climbs. What we're going to be pushed against tonight is sunset. So it's now just come up to 5 o'clock. Sunsets at 8:30. But as you can see, it's a lovely sunny day. So fingers crossed, it's about 9 o'clock when we get finished. And hopefully that's when the sun is going down. So fingers crossed. Let's just get on with our walk. Walking along, we can just see what we can on the GPS unit. So again, most of the time we're just following this big arrow. It's got the information we're walking at, speed we're walking at, distance to next waypoints. You can see it's counting down. It's just, we're just going over the top of a waypoint there. Time to next waypoint, estimated time of arrival, or destination rather, which is the time of the end of the walk, which is at 11:04. I suspect that will go up a bit because we've got a fair bit of climbing ahead of us. And then we've got our trip computer, which again gives us our altitude, elevation above sea level. We've done 1.41 miles. Estimated time of destination is at 8:04. Just next waypoint, speed we're walking at, sunset, distance to destination, and how long we've been walking for. As you'll know, all these are completely changeable, so we can change any of these fields. So I've just set them up for what's really of interest for me this evening, which is really what time we're going to get back, and the key facts there. Again, when we're navigating, we do tend to navigate either on the compass page, which we follow that big arrow in the middle, or alternatively we've got the map page, so we can see where we are with that little blue triangle there, and there's the compass rose at the top. Again, we can zoom in on this map if we want to. Zoom in on the map, that gives us a little bit more detail access. Just going over the waypoint as it pings. As we go over that waypoint, is that arrow starting to swing around. So it's just descending a little bit on that ordnance survey map, and it's just a nice path. This is what we call the Carriageway Drive, the Cragside Carriageway Drive. As you may know, the famous resident of Rothbury that brought a lot of wealth to the area many years ago now is Lord Armstrong. Lord Armstrong from Cragside House. The house is now behind us, owned by the National Trust, the most visited property of the National Trust in the whole of Northumberland. So this is no longer part of the estate, it was separated off, but this is the old Carriageway Drive where Lord Armstrong and his guests after lunch would jump into a horse and cart and go around this wonderful, about 3 or 4 mile carriageway drive, which is quite high up. We are quite high up, and it looks down on Rothbury, it looks down on the village itself. And this would have been his, well, I suppose his country run out after dinner to show his guests. So we're just coming up to a bit of an opening. It's over to Simonside, so give you a bit of an idea of what height we're at as we come there. So there's the Simonside Hills in the distance. I'm going to just drop down. We're going to drop out of this woodland area. This is actually Addicombe Hill. We're going to drop out of the woodland area, and it opens up the path. We get some lovely views, so you can see Simonside Hills, which is here. We're going to go up this section here, right along the top. So where does the Montana 700i fit in Garmin's stable of outdoor GPS units? So in the Montana 700 range, we have 3 GPS units. We have the Montana 700, which is the base model, the 700i, which is this model. We also have a 750i. So what are the differences? So Montana 700 large screen GPS unit, they all come in exactly the same cases. But what we get on the 700i is we get the 2-way satellite communication, which is the inReach technology, as we call it in the Garmin world, which enables me to send and receive 2-way satellite communication. The other thing we get also on the eye is something called City Navigator. So this is like Garmin's car sat-nav experience. So this you can also mount in a vehicle. You can see the mount on the top and the bottom. You can mount this in a vehicle or a motorcycle or a quad bike, and you can navigate you along the road. So again, say I want to do some off-road motorcycling, I want to do some on-road motorcycling, the i version is ideal for this. So 700i comes with City Navigator and this 2-way satellite communication, which we'll look at a little bit later on in the walk. The 750i Also comes with City Navigator, two-way satellite communication, and that also comes with an 8 megapixel camera. So a built-in 8 megapixel camera is in the 750i. So those are 3 units, 700. 700i has a two-way satellite communication and City Navigator, and the 750i has a two-way satellite communication, City Navigator, and the built-in camera. Across the River Coquet on this wonderful bridge. So this is the next bridge up the river. So Rothbury's down that way, which is the previous bridge, and then this is the next footbridge. I don't have another vehicle bridge for another few miles up. So wonderful little pedestrian bridge, and we're just back down in the valley bottom, so we can see the higher ground there that we're being up. You can see Simonside there that we're heading towards. So a lovely flat section as we head across the fields. A few Suffolk cross sheep on there. Fine metal sheep they are, as we hit the valley bottom, and now heading up past Tosson lime kiln, which we'll stop and have a quick look at the lime kiln as we climb up onto the top of Simonside. Any excuse to stop on our way up the hill, a bit of a rest won't do us any harm with it. So we're just now in this lovely valley bottom. Let's just see what we can look at on our GPS unit. So I'm on the map page. The route is the magenta line overlaid on the map, and we're this little blue dot down the bottom, directional arrow at the top. Now if you wanted to, you can press that, that'll vanish off the top of the screen, or you can bring it back on again. I've actually created a waypoint at that point, so just bring it back on there. So that's what happens if you sometimes touch on this screen. If you create this waypoint and you get this at the top, thinking I want to navigate that waypoint, I've lost my compass rose, press a little backward arrow down the bottom, and you're back on that map page. So if you do accidentally touch the screen and you lose that compass rose, or the screen's not moving, always look down the bottom left and you've got that arrow. That brings you out of what we call the planning mode. We're back in the navigational screen. We can lock the screen on this unit, so again, just press the power button lightly on the side, just press that padlock, and then the screen's locked. So we can, if it's a wet day or you accidentally touched it, we can lock that screen, and to unlock it, please just press the power button on the side, and the screen is now unlocked. So that's how we can lock that screen if it's a wet day and you don't want it jumping around with the rain on the map page or creating waypoints. But the key thing is, got the compass page. Compass page gives the stats, the speed we're walking at, distance to your next waypoint, estimated time of destination, which is the end of the walk, and time to next waypoint. So it seems just pointing a little bit off this way, so follow that. And then we've got our trip computer, elevation we're at, we've done 4.52 miles, distance to next waypoint, again ETA, destination, time to here, speed we're walking at, sunset, distance to next waypoint. So we'll be walking 1 minute 19, so 1 hour 19 minutes, our battery level down the bottom. But the key thing you've got here is the main menu. So inReach is a two-way satellite communication, and that gives the opportunity to send messages, send preset messages, get live weather as well using the satellites. And we can mark waypoints, we can mark our current location, the elevation of the walk so far. And this bird's eye download here enables us to download satellite imagery. So this GPS, you can log onto your Wi-Fi at home and say download the satellite imagery from this location. You can mark it with a pin, various ways you can do it, and you can download satellite imagery onto this GPS device. You do live geocaching with it, IQ apps, that means you can put special apps on the Garmin GPS unit, and this way you can manage your waypoints, routes, etc. Satellites down the bottom, we see a grid reference at the top, NU being the sheet number, BNG meaning British National Grid, and I've set up to use both the GPS and the Galileo, which is the European satellite, and we can see the accuracy at the top. So again, a 14 feet accuracy using those satellites. So it's good, nice, accurate GPS unit using that Galileo. So that's a little bit of an overview. I better stop talking as I climb my stand now. I don't want to fall over. Let's head on up to the Tosson lime kiln, which is just halfway up there. So this is Tosson lime kiln behind me. So hopefully know what lime kiln's for. So over time, the soil becomes acidic really with acid rain, very much so in the past with a lot of industrial and smoke being put up into the atmosphere. And that acid rain makes the soil turn acid, which is not the best because we really want the soil to be neutral to grow both crops and grass. So what we do in farming is we put lime on there. We put lime, which neutralises and brings the pH back to neutral. Now we just get limestone from a place like Yorkdales, and we just crush it very, very fine and bring it in with wagons from many miles away. But in the past, we couldn't do this. So we've got lime kilns like this. So in lime kilns, we put a layer of fuel, which would be coal, a layer of crushed limestone. Now, this is often crushed by hand, just small, and then we would set it alight at the bottom and burn its way through, and then we would get the broken down limestone and spread it out onto the field. So these lime kilns are all over the countryside. Now in this area, there's literally every 2 or 3 miles we'll find lime kilns. So it had been quarried locally, the lime, and then it would have been put in these layers in this lime kiln. This is the bottom where we'd rake it out. It's like a funnel inside, and so we have coal and then limestone, coal and limestone. You light at the bottom and the fire would burn up and break it all down. They would rake it out the bottom and spread it on the land. It's quite industrial scale. These lime kilns have kept going for quite a long time, and neighbouring farmers would use that lime kiln. So this one that's been preserved is called Tosson lime kiln, and ideally it's halfway up our climb this evening. So we've reached the top of Simonside. Well, not really the top. This is the top over there, but everybody classes this as the summit, just because it's on the edge of the cliff that drops down. Really nice climbing face down there. So what can we see? It's the Cheviot in the hill in the distance. The flat one is the Cheviot itself. Hedgehope is the one that's got a bit of well, it's a bit more of a top to it, which is the one to the right, and that's the Cheviot. So we've got Thropton down below, Rothbury over there in the distance, and this is the Carriageway, the ground that we climbed on initially. Then we're looking towards the coast. We've got the Northumberland coast away. This direction we can just see the wind turbines just in the distance, and then we're looking over to, you can just see Fontburn Reservoir. It's quite hard to see. People did the walk and taught me the E-Trex 10. I went to Fontburn Reservoir on that walk. And we're looking around. The Wannies, more wind turbines. This is how you identify everything these days. Wind turbines of the Wannies. Famously the source of the river Wansbeck. And we're looking down on the forest, Simonside forest down below. Lovely. Sun just starting to go down. We've got a little bit of height, and I think we're going to get to the end before the sun sets. So this is the top of Simonside. I say it's not really the top, but it's what everybody classes at the summit. We're going to go a little bit higher yet, and then we'll start dropping our way down onto St Oswald's Way. So far, and it's now 7:10, so we've been going, what, a couple of hours? I've not seen one person so far, but just looking across, I can just see a couple of walkers coming towards me and some runners right in the distance. So it looks like I'm going to bump into a few people as I walk across the ridge of Simonside as I pass away along there. So far, not seen one person. How great is that in 2 hours? So yeah, I'm just going to go across the ridge of Simonside and then start dropping down. You can see or not, but this wonderful path that's behind us on the top of Simonside. There's a bit of a story here. The path used to be just a bit down here, it did, and then it got eroded. It was originally put in place as a Forest Commission walk, believe it or not. It was a Forest Commission walk that went across the top of Simonside, and over the years it got so worn out. It's just we're on peatland here. It got very, very worn. It got eroded. So the local ramblers claimed the right of way, which was here, which is an old ancient right of way. But before they opened it up, Northumberland National Park got some European funding to put in this wonderful path. But at the time, we also needed some funding from the private sector. So we approached ourselves at Shepherd's Walks. As you know, GPS Trains part of Shepherd's Walks. And we actually were selling some walking guides at the time. We actually still sell them. And what we did was we donated £1 from every walk booklet. We saw there were £6 these walk booklets. And we sold them to all the tour information centres and various online retailers and things, and there was £6, of which £1 of each pack went to this footpath. So yeah, we donated quite a large amount of money. I suspect we covered about 5 yards of paving, maybe a little bit more. It was all dropped in by a helicopter. They actually started with a Chinook dropping it in, and they realised it was quite cumbersome to have this large Chinook putting down these sacks of stone. So they brought in a lighter weight helicopter and they brought it up the top, and they actually got diggers on the top here as well, and men, volunteer rangers, and they put this in place. And this is from the old mills, isn't it? So it's quite nice really. It's many years ago we donated that money when this was first put in place, so it's nice to walk on it and think that Shepherd's Walks Christmas, you guys watching it, because say GPS Trains part of Shepherd's Walks have funded a little bit of this footpath and put something a little bit back into the countryside. And that's one thing I think I'm very proud of in Northumberland, is the way we've managed to look after the landscape. We look at other areas of the country with this amazing path erosion that we see, and one thing we've managed to keep on top of is path erosion, and well done Northumberland National Park for doing that, and looking after the landscape we have. I know it doesn't get walked as much as some other areas in the countryside, people will say, but actually by putting paths like this in place before they get walked, and this was put in place as the right of way was put in place, it's been protected for future generations. And again, it's a hugely popular walk, this. Normally, not tonight though, because there's not a soul in sight, but normally it's a very well walked walk because it's quite accessible really. You know, we're starting down from Rothbury. A lot of people start at Lord and Shores, so there's another picnic area, car park, a little bit, well, halfway up really, so a lot of people start halfway up and really get this wonderful views of Rothbury and Simonside with very little effort. So quick jump down here, right, good stuff. So that's a little bit about the footpath. Heading on our way to Dove Crag, which is in the distance, is where we're heading for at this moment in time. So what a wonderful time of the year it is with this purple heather they're just out. I think it's going to be a great year this year because we're going into a dry spell, so hopefully this purple heather stays out. Absolutely stunning, so really good. Now, one of the questions we get asked a lot about the Montana 700i is this SOS button on the side. SOS button, what happens if I accidentally press it? Well, the key thing is you can't accidentally press it, so that's actually a cover. You need to lift the cover up and you'll see there's a button underneath, so you can't accidentally push it. You have to lift the button up and press it. And then what happens when we press that button? Well, what happens when you press that button, it goes to Houston, Texas in America, and they manage your rescue from anywhere in the world. So in this country, they would notify your local mountain rescue, and they would then come and rescue. The nice thing about it is it's two-way satellite communication. As long as you are, well, up and able to, they'll communicate with you two-way satellite communication, so they'll find out exactly what the incident is, and then the urgency of that, weather conditions, you know, you've got a broken limb or you're just lost, etc, etc. Now, if you're outside the UK, we don't have mountain rescue, you actually can put your insurance details in the software. So you can do this through what's called Garmin Explorer Online. So you log into Garmin Explorer Online, you choose what package you want. We talked a bit earlier on about the different packages available. You put in your next of kin, emergency telephone number, people to contact, medical conditions. And the other thing you can do is put your insurance company in. So if you are overseas, they will need to liaise with your insurance company to manage your rescue, because as you appreciate, they're going to send a helicopter out to you and you're kind of in the Himalayas or whatever, you know, somebody's going to have to pay for that. If you don't have an insurance policy, you can actually buy one from Garmin from within the software, and believe me, it's not expensive at all. So don't worry about that. If you are going overseas, Garmin do have an insurance policy you can buy within the software, very reasonably priced, and it's tailored for this GPS device. So you're not going to get a holiday insurance saying, oh, you're not covered because you're X thousand feet above sea level. This is made for rescue in mind. So That's one of the key things with the 66i or any GPS unit with a two-way satellite communication is you have to fill in this information. Don't worry, you get a GPS unit from ourselves, you get stuff, just give us a shout, we can help you with that information. So you activate that inReach technology and then you update it all online as you go. Looks like we're going to beat sunset, so we're just on our last mile as we drop back down into the village, just a few tracks, and then we drop back down through the field back into the village. So as we're doing this, let's just think of the pros and the cons of the Montana 700i. So what are the good points, what are the bad points about it? And really, I don't know, should you get one or not? I suppose that's the reality. Let's start off with the bad points, which could be good points. Bad points is it's quite big GPS unit, but is that a good point? I don't think it is. Neither or, but just be aware it is a big GPS unit. You're going to struggle to carry it in your hand. You really need carrying pouches we've looked at to carry it, potentially a lanyard. It's not massively heavy. I put in the notes below exactly how heavy it is, but it doesn't feel heavy in my hand. So the bad points, well, it's quite expensive, but hey, you get what you pay for. And you need a subscription for the inReach technology to work, but again, it's just like a mobile phone contract, isn't it? You don't expect to get a mobile phone, of course, for free. So exactly the same with the inReach. And again, we're using satellite, the same technology we use on sat phones on this GPS unit. So it's high orbit satellite, the Iridium satellites, which are top notch. And I've been using this unit using inReach unit for many years now. And to be honest, cannot fault it. I think it's an absolutely great piece of kit. Pros of it, big screen. So big screen GPS unit. It's got an interchangeable battery on the back. So a lot of units now got built-in batteries with people question whether they carry power packs and things. This has actually got a battery pack on the back with slots in. It's got a little catch down the bottom, take it on and off. So again, you can buy a spare battery pack if you want, or alternatively take a power pack with you. 15 hours of battery life. I've walked with it an awful lot. I've never had 15 hours on the trot with it. So, but I've been out with it this evening and it's used more 25% battery life in the walk that I've done so far. So great battery life on there. Really easy to use. I love down at the bottom of the screen, you've got these icons, these shortcuts down the bottom. You can just jump to the relevant pages. I always say in the nicest possible way, if you listen to podcasts, I say an awful lot on the podcast now with people in Montana, so they come on our courses. They then would normally be mid-class with their skills, but they're usually at the top. Not due to their skills, but due to how easy the Montana 700, 700i, 750i is to use. So again, no disrespect to those people, but it is so much easier to use. And with that large screen, it enables you to do a lot of things on GPS units, like creating a route on the map page, which I know you struggle with many of the smaller screen GPS units. So really nice and easy to use. Good battery life on it. I just hit a waypoint. It's just beeped as we went through the waypoint. Other than that, I think it's a great unit. No, make sure you get a carry case for it. That's the most fundamental thing, you know. You need a carry case for it, otherwise you're going to struggle to carry it. So the other positive thing is how it mounts on push bikes. If you do put on a push bike, the bracket clamps around the top and the bottom like this. It holds it in position. Again, because it ends up a lot on trail bikes and vehicles. It's a really solid trail mount, like a mount for it. I know you do read reviews of people with the smaller bike mount from Garmin, people saying, oh, it's not very good on my bike and potentially it falls off. Now I know a lot of people secure that with a lanyard, but you won't get that with a Montana. You know, like, it's solidly secure. So the bike mounts are a little bit more expensive, but it's worth paying for because you get that really good solid clasp onto your mountain bike or your push bike, whatever you're going to mount it on. So it's not very good because the sun's behind me, but that kind of tells me the sun is just about to set, isn't it? So I'll just carry on as we drop back into the village. We're going to go past Sharp's Folly in a minute, which is a nice folly. And I'm going to drop back down and then we'll just finish off and summarise some of the stats and finish off how we finish the day's walking off with a Garmin Montana 700i. So the sun is just going down because we're past sunset. GPS has gone all black, so just like a car sat nav does, it will just goes all black, so you don't get that contrasting your eyes. The nice thing is you can see I'm just walking through a field as I drop back into the village. Where is the footpath? Where is the footpath? Nobody knows. So the lovely thing about a GPS unit is there is my footpath. It shows me walking along it. I've got my arrow there at the top. Again, it's quite big to touch, but I can zoom in a little bit more detail. That's where the footpath is on the ground. And then you kind of work out, you can just about make it out there as you come through the field. But it's nice to have that reassurance of seeing that map in front of you with the footpath. And then you can see as you drop back down in the village. And as we do, the sun is just setting as we drop back down into the village this evening. So just as we're losing the last light, we're just approaching our last waypoint. So you can see we're just approaching the waypoint. We've actually just gone past it, haven't we? Because the arrow's pointing back on ourselves, which just shows that we just walked past the last waypoint. So what do we need to do? We need to stop that navigation. So what do? We press the magnifying glass where to, and then we stop navigation. So that's just stopped us navigating the route, and we know that because we've lost the arrow in the top. Next thing we do is save our track. So just press the power button lightly on the side. And you see there's our activity recording there. We can tap on there. We've been walking 3 hours 40. 11.09 miles, and we can just pause that there. And now we've stopped that track. So we've stopped the track. We can see the details of that track if you want to. So you can see all the information. You can see it overlaid on the map, and you can see in that green. And then we've got the elevation data of and what we need to do is go back to this first tab, and we just press that save. Press the save. It says, right, do you want to save your track? There's all your details. And you just select yes. So it exports that track, and now that's all saved. That's all your route data, all your track data that's been saved. So we've stopped our navigation and we've saved that track. So I'm just crossing the river Coquet on my way back home. So we'll say thank you very much for watching this latest walk and talk from myself, John from GPS Training. If there's anything you'd like me to cover in future walk and talks, please do let me know. And if you're interested in buying an outdoor GPS unit, again, please do get in touch. If you can subscribe on YouTube, please do subscribe on YouTube. It'd be very much appreciated. And again, if you're interested in learning how to use your outdoor GPS unit, or you're wanting any advice on your GPS unit, please don't get in touch with ourselves. And again, please let us know if you want us to cover anything else in future walk and talks. Thanks very much for joining me this wonderful summer's evening, and we'll look back in many months to come when it is snowing and wet. Say, look at that wonderful sunset in Rothby. So thanks for joining me here on the latest walk and talk.